Hello there, welcome to another episode of Fort Triumph with Ungainly Titan, and this was recorded around the time 0.90 dropped. I was exploring the new features as well as continuing on the campaign storyline. So you've seen the start of this before, if you've seen that video, which is the second previous video, the one that was reviewing sort of the 0.90 update. I'll have a link in it. It will be showing up on the screen just about now. For those of you that have not seen this particular video, so you have a little bit of background that continues the storyline from the beginning of the chapter 1, where the party find that the village has been taken over by Undead that were hired to protect. And at this point I'd already completed the breach contract that was available at the inn, and there are two more contracts remaining. There is the Undead one and the Goblin contract. Now, the whole new party management, well, not so much, but character management, save the Skeleton Menace and Goblin Hunt. So the characters that all to be respect and re-leveled because they brought in a new system with new skills, but I went over that in the previous video, so I won't cover it on this one. Just a quick look and see what was available in the inn. Nothing particularly new in the shop or nothing new in the inventories to purchase. There is the world map, and you could probably spend some time exploring the world map as well, but I haven't. I do a certain amount of it when I wander around going to these adventures. For instance, I've come up here to collect some of the magic pool, and to do that you have to engage with the encounter. Now, I'm not going to cover random encounter battles in this video because it's going to be long enough, and I do 2 or 3 random encounters so that every time I go out into the world map, there's nothing particularly special about those random encounters. Well, not all of them. Some of them actually do have little bits of world lore and things put in, but all the random encounters are essentially voluntary, in that you don't have to engage with a random encounter if you don't want to. Even if wandering monsters come onto your area on the map, you still have a completely voluntary interaction with them. You'll see that here actually, because I finished a move there and the Undead party arrives in the same location that the party is, but I don't have to fight the legions. The necromancer, I can just move on, go down off the road, and I'm going to go straight to the crypt, I think, at this point, rather than explore any of the other stuff around. The crypt section was difficult enough. You meet, so you have Agatha Lichtenbane, and Bertram, her husband, has gone into the crypt. He's kind of an aging hero that believes he's far more capable than he actually is. And he's captured inside the crypt, so you're supposed to rescue him. They have to keep him alive until the adventure ends, which can be difficult enough because there are circumstances which you'll see in which keeping him alive becomes more and more problematic. And it's quite easy to get characters injured in the combat system as it stands, so keeping people alive can be tricky. We enter the crypts, and you have your little bit of dialogue at the start. I suppose a cutscene again, as you describe it, and the skeleton archers are complaining about the bureaucracy of evil. It's a nice touch. I've seen it used before. I think Pratchett might have referred to it once, and but I'm not sure. There was some writer I remember about hell being taken over by a new devil. The devil had been replaced by another devil, called the Devil, and he brought in a whole basically bureaucratic hell, and the scene was encapsulated, I think, by Sisyphus pleading with the demon that was in charge of making him roll the rock up the world to can they not finish reading the millions of pages of the health and safety procedures of moving a rock up a slope, and the demon pointing out that they were only on chapter 4, section 25, and there was another 15 volumes to go. It also reminds me the approach by Crowley in As a Good Omens with Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, where he reckons that it's more effective to get people generally annoyed and miserable and snappish with each other, so that there is a constant low-grade feeling of mistrust, dissatisfaction with your fellow man, and various things like that, rather than bringing about the evils of barbarian invasions or revolutions, collapses of society and things like that, because that tends to actually bring out the heroic and the good in people, rather than bringing out, whereas sort of low-level misery from essentially bureaucratic procedures and foul-ups is far more effective at making a society of evil rather than big picture stuff. It's an interesting take. Anyhow, you have to get through a couple of encounters before you can find Bertram. And it's the usual stuff. Again, try and minimize your exposure, maximize the use of the environment, and get rid of the enemies as efficiently as possible. Now, I have spotted, I think it's a bug, but essentially if you level up, it doesn't automatically go on to the next character when you complete close the character sheet. Instead, you actually have to select the character on the character list in order to get the character sheet, what you call it, to get the next person in initiative to act. Otherwise, you can be wondering why it hasn't moved on. Also, I think I've had it happen to me as well, independently, but that I need to go back and review the video footage to see was it something I screwed up. Because sometimes I'm not exactly the most observant when I'm playing these things. But you can always change and alter the initiative, I think, by just selecting characters that are available to act. Ones that have acted are grayed out, you can't select them. And you can move a person actually and skip them the rest of their act by just selecting a different character and then getting them to act if you have thought of some combination or you want them to do something later on. Like, there are now buffing powers available to the knight, for instance, that only work if everybody's in pretty close proximity, and you might move the knight into position and then move everyone else around them and then finish them at the end of the turn. You can't permanently change the initiative order, which is at least I don't know how you. I suppose you could disband the party, just dismiss everybody and then reassemble them in a different order, and that would permanently change the initiative order. But you can't do it for a particular adventure or a particular encounter where you just want to change the initiative order on the fly, so to speak, which could be useful. I might actually mention that in their forums. That could be a useful suggestion to have. If anyone watching this actually thinks of things like that, like variable initiative orders or delayed actions or some kind of reaction modes that you might want to, that might be a good idea or might be useful to add to the game that you're seeing and that occurs to you, feel free to leave a comment. I would certainly have a think about it. I'd pass it on, put it on the forums. They have a discussion forum on the Steam site. Seems to be that's their forums. They're not hosting their own company in forums. They're just using the Steam forums for their development. So you can always go there and make your suggestion. So at this point we've more or less rescued Bertram. Okay, I thought here again that I'd kick the two skeletons together, but I didn't. I overlooked the Overwatch. The Overwatch nailed one of them before he crashed into the other guy. In hindsight, I'd probably been better off if that worked differently, because the two stunned skeletons would be more useful than one dead one alive. Because effectively stunned kind of takes them out of the action, so to speak, and they'd be a move away from Bertram. As it turns out, they go after the barbarian, possibly because she's a wounded character, and therefore it's seen as a kind of an easier target. So Ruby is... No, she's not in very low health. She's not too bad. So we get him down here, and now we can do a kick that takes everybody out and heals Ruby up by a point. So Bertram takes over the show. He wants to go after the Spider Queen. And you've basically no choice but to accompany him, make sure he stays alive and all that sort of thing. We haven't found a Spider Queen yet, so we need to do so. We've triggered a skeleton. So there's at least one skeleton in the corridor, and at the moment we just need to gather my forces, move everybody up. I completely forgot about collecting that health potion, which is rather silly of me, really. I probably picked it up anyway. I think once you clear it, then you pick up any treasure that you hadn't picked up or discovered. So this guy moves up on his own, and that makes him rather easy to deal with. So we just get in around behind him. He is a skeleton weakling, so he's pretty easy to deal with, and that's everything over there. So I just need to gather up the party. We have another level up. Go with that one because being able to attack at the end of a second move is actually very useful. Just want to bring everyone together, and I don't want to trigger any more encounters until I have everyone together. But as soon as the ranger moves in, I know about the other skeletons, and I think that's because of the hearing ability skill of the ranger that I'd selected, so they can detect enemies that are nearby that we've no line of sight to. So the skeletons are not aware of us; they haven't responded, but we're aware of them because the ranger being in the locality or in the vicinity. I've moved Elizabeth up, but I haven't completed her movement. I want to select a different character, and I get Bertram up as well. Looks like I was going to pick up the health potion there, but then I didn't. I don't know what exactly I was thinking at the time, but I have everybody up, and then Elizabeth can kick off her rally, which gives everybody a boost, so they'll have it for the next 2 turns, I think. Now it's time to trigger the remaining fight in the corridor. As soon as we get Ruby up there, we can see the door. That's the exit. That triggers the cutscene into the start of the final encounter. So we brace her in her current location because there's always a chance she might get attacked. And do we Overwatch or attack? I think I finish up going with Overwatch. I don't think I had any. Well, I had attacks, but it might necessarily be the most effective use of my my character. One problem is that once you've selected something, that's it. You've selected them. So if you're going to stall a character and you want to wait until you see what you can do with everybody else, then you just need to select without selecting any kind of action. 2 characters together, it's as good as you're going to get for a fireball. It eliminates the 2 of them, and it just makes the counter quite trivial at this point because there's only one skeleton left, and he has to move to attack and probably move past Elizabeth. So it also triggers the Overwatch, and that pretty much finishes the fight. So there's not even a need to anybody to attack back. We open the door and away we go. Arachnax is there, and obviously Bertram and her have a history. Spiders don't have queens, they're solitary species in the normal real world. I don't think there are any social spider species that I'm aware of. Some political in-jokes, and off we go. This fight is actually quite tricky because Bertram is locked in position by the web for the duration of the fight, so he's not available as an ally. I don't know, it is possible that he might sometimes escape the web. Most of the time he remains trapped, and therefore you have to protect him. You can't allow him to die, or you failed. So you have to attract the attention of the spiders to get them to cluster up so you can stun them and kill them and stuff like that, without letting them get too near to Bertram where they make their attacks on him, because they will if they've nothing else to be doing. It's almost as if they know that if he dies you'll fail the adventure. Now I started off here with the electrocute spell, because every time the spider moves it triggers damage, and that's useful as one way to get multiple rounds of damage into somebody. The little spiders can only just about reach Elizabeth and not make an attack, which again is useful. They're attracted to somebody, they're all in a group together, and we could do something a bit more forceful later on. Particularly as soon as we get Elizabeth out of the way, because I think if you drop a fireball on an ally, they'll take the damage. It's not something you want to do. So we have a spider going for Bertram there, and we need to get that spider out of the way, or at least prevent it from attacking Bertram, because, well, okay, he's got 12 hit points, which is pretty decent. But a concerted attack or a couple of rounds of attacks would or could do damage there. Now I thought I could charge the whole way down, but it doesn't look like I can. You can't charge through units. And I have messed up once or twice here, thinking I'd selected an action and then discovering that I'd actually not. And the game going with the default action. So you want to be careful of that if you've selected an action, it is highlighted and properly highlighted and stuff like that. Sometimes it will just, if you right click, you can also see it in the icons. You just need to watch the iconography of what you're clicked, so that you're getting the attack you think you're getting rather than the one that just happens to be selected, because you haven't been paying quite enough attention. So the spider nearest to Bertram is stunned, and I come around here, and do I mess this one up or get it right? I can't remember. See, this is the one where I messed up. I thought I'd selected the kick, but I hadn't. I hadn't clicked on it properly. It had just highlighted and expanded. And when I actually clicked on the square, I'd made the default attack rather than the one that I thought I was going to be making, which would have done extra damage, because I think the kick of the spider would have dislodged the pillar, and or at least have a chance of dislodging the pillar and also injuring Archnax. But the fireball will injure both, and the pillar is actually, I think, on fire, so anything adjacent to it will continue to take burning damage. Archnax goes up and attacks the barbarian. You have a last remaining spider will go after, and this spider goes after the barbarian as well. Probably because the barbarian's now a very wounded character, but because the spider was stunned, it wasn't able to make an attack, which is really fortunate. Now I thought the kick would slide her further and that I'd get a stun effect on both spiders, but it didn't work out that way. So I go for the pushback, as I thought the pushback might push the spider back far enough to trigger an opportunity attack, but it doesn't look like it does. I probably needed the upgraded pushback, and I think that pushes it back more than one square. Now I don't know what would happen if I push back into the barbarian square, so I might have wanted to push back in a different direction, so past the barbarian. So now it is up to the wizard, I think, to save the day. Now the Archnax is stunned, so that means that she can attack or move, but not both. And we have well, we have a variety of things that we can choose to do. So we go with the whirlwind, drop that on that spider and finish him off. And it's their turn, so Agnex leaves, goes after Bertram, because I suppose he knows that she's no health and she won't survive the next round, or I'm not sure what the calculation there is. She didn't go after the Ruby, which is fortunate. She would have probably taken Ruby out if she did. But Ruby got an opportunity to attack in as well, which really brought Agnex down to her last remaining hit points now. I went with the charge. I thought the charge would do actual damage, but it didn't. It just stunned the spider. Now, it's a useful effect, but it wasn't what I was hoping for. Right, so we're now down to Dawn. Moved her, make a direct attack on her. She has very few hit points left. Any hit will do the job. Close enough for 100% hit, and a level up on Dawn. Again, we do the level up over the smoke bomb. Take the level up, and I have to manually select Elizabeth Fistpuncher for the next action, because it just doesn't automatically do it. So we have one remaining spider. I just want to launch a direct attack. You see the path of movement. If you don't like the path of movement, then you'll have to move them across the path you want them to move, rather than make the attack from the new square. But you need to make sure that when you're moving into a square adjacent to the creature you want, to the square the creature's in, because large creatures seem to take up more than one square, but their core is considered to be in a particular square. I've also been caught with large creatures in that they have the area they're standing in. You can be apparently adjacent to them, but you're not really adjacent to them. You have to be adjacent to the square that they're considered to be occupying fully, rather than to the square that they appear to be occupying on the screen, if you know what I mean by the difference. Like, so there's usually only occupying one square, even though they take up the space of maybe 4 squares. Well, Bertram has managed to get himself sent to somewhere fairly not nice as a result of touching the finite gauntlet, or the finite stone. I'm not too sure which. But it's obvious that there'll be more about this, and that there are probably other stones that'll fit it, and there's going to be probably a whole plot revolving around this finite gauntlet. That's pretty much it. That's the adventure complete. You get some faction points for completing it from the faction that was sponsoring it. Obviously you lose faction points when you was allied with the Undead. But I don't know if there are such on the map, and we get a messenger bird with some further information from Stevens. That's pretty much that. There's not a lot more to see. You've a bit more of the global plot, I suppose, is furthered a bit, and now there is the remaining contract, the Goblin Hunt contract, which I'll probably cover shortly. And see what else is on the game in the world map. Probably explore around the world map and do an episode on that as well. It'll probably be a separate thing just to show what I can reveal out of the world map in the current iteration of the game. I presume I'll be able to find Fort Triumph at some point. Thank you for watching. Please give the video a like and a share. If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you all again soon. Bye for now.